big time.
Did you go pants today too, Matt? Or
I did. You'll have to trust me, but I did.
I don't want to see it.
It's not a visualization.
Hey, this is awesome. I'm so excited. We have a really awesome roundtable here. There's 5 of us here today, including Harvey. He's going to leave his input, I guess, throughout. If he snores, we're going to move on to the next topic. That's kind of
He's very opinionated today. He's got a lot to say.
Yeah, very opinionated.
He's going to lay down on the floor and sleep.
Nick, it's good to have you back. We missed you last Thursday.
Thanks, man. I only missed one day. How'd you do without me?
We did okay. We did okay. Not, you weren't here.
How did Brad do, more importantly?
Brad
he screwed up?
Did good. Yeah, we figured out that it would take me a driver and an 8-iron to hit it as far as he hits his driver. So
you should see him putt, though.
Not good, huh?
Have you ever watched someone like this putter takes it back, ground is my hand? He would do a really nice job of hitting the putt if the ground moved down here. Sometimes the putter goes down and actually gets stuck on the backswing.
Oh, man.
I know.
Poor Brad. We'll have to bring him back on and work on his putting, I guess.
Yeah, he doesn't do the putting lesson shows.
I guess not. Well, congrats, Nick. You added someone to the family this past week.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, yeah.
Congrats.
My office hours are great now because I can do a whole lot more. I'm awake from midnight until 7 in the morning every day, all the time.
Well, that's fine. We'll change the live to like 3, 4 a.m. It'll be perfect. We'll get that late crowd.
I'll be ready.
Well, now between you and I, Nick, we've got a whole basketball team, women's basketball team. So we're all set.
As soon as we're done with this, we'll get a game going. Cordy.
Hey, yes.
Who's on? Let's talk about these guys. These guys are very important.
We've got an incredible show today. I'm going to kick it over to Matt Rudy from Golf Digest, and he's going to intro our guest because he works a lot with Mike. Matt, welcome.
Well, hey, thanks for having me. It's nice to sit here with some of my friends and talk about golf. I've been doing this stuff at golf for 20 years, writing golf instruction, and since my first year at Golf Digest, when we did the first 50 best teachers list, Mike Adams was on that list then, and he's number 2 on that list this time. And of course, Nick, he's new to the list this year, so we've got 2 guys who know an awful lot about the game, and Mike's been researching and teaching the game for 40 years, and to hear the stories not only about what it's like to stand on the range and work with all different kinds of players, from tour winners all the way down to choppers at the club level, but then to back it up with the research he's done and the drive he has to learn things. I really respect that a lot, and I try to surround myself with people who want to know. They want to learn and they want to know. You won't find somebody with better credentials who's also more open to new information than Mike Adams. So I'm thrilled to be sitting here talking to him and to bring him into this group with so many of my friends. So I'm really going to enjoy today.
That's awesome. Hey, Mike, what you started on the list how long ago?
The first one.
First one.
Me and Abe Lincoln were on the list together.
Oh, honest Abe, I bet he was a great teacher. Where were you on the first list? What number did they rank you at? Did your friends?
They didn't have numbers at the beginning.
No.
Yeah, it was just top 50.
Numbers weren't invented back.
It was top 50.
Like the abacus back then.
I think the last 20 years I've been everywhere from 2 to 11.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, it's pretty cool to have you here. Absolutely.
It's good to be here.
So, Mike, we're going to talk a little bit about some screens, some different types of golf swing, kind of how you categorize things, which is fascinating to me. Over the years, I've been able to learn from you a little bit and others that you've taught some of this, and it's really cool stuff. So, could you kind of just maybe take us back? Like, where does this idea of screening someone and trying to figure out where they fit in, their golf swing fits in, where does it come from, or how did you get down this path?
Well, it came to about 30 plus years ago. I decided to quit guessing and start measuring. It's a lot easier to measure somebody and figure out what's going on than guess. And I was very fortunate. Dr. Chuck Dillman, who was the biomechanist for the U.S. Olympic team, and Dr. Jim Sedmeyer, who was also a biomechanist, we decided to do a study, and we went out on tour and with force plates and did 3D motion capture this is back in the old days when there was wires and you had to hand digitize, and we did about 100 players. at 6 different events total. And they showed me what I was teaching was wrong, and that what I thought was correct wasn't even close. And then I began to figure it out. So I had to come up with a system, be able to measure so that I wouldn't be going down the wrong rabbit hole every time.
And that's interesting,
crazy.
Mike. So the were they PhDs, scientists who helped you do the swing measuring, or what was their background?
Jim Sedmeyer, a biomechanist, PhD,
Okay.
and the other was Dr. Chuck Dillman, who was a PhD, and he was the head of the U.S. Olympics biomechanics.
Yep. So how did they help you explain that what you were teaching was wrong?
Well, no, they just showed me what the research showed, and from there we started realizing, instead of trying to make everybody one swing, that I needed to allow them to be what they were. Basically, different grips. If you look at Snead's right hand grip, it's more on top, okay? But you look at Trevino's, it's more under. You look at Jose Maria Olazabal, he pivoted back around his left leg, where Vijay Singh pivots back around his right leg. So there's all different examples of different players. So we need to figure out how we determine who should be doing what.
So give us an example, or like what are some different categories that people fit in?
Well, you have basically 3 posts. You can either pivot back around the front leg and through around the front leg. The reason stack and tilt works so well is because there was a group of players who were front post and weren't allowed to do it. And then when they were allowed to do it, they flourished and played great. Then you have guys who pivot back around the right leg. They move to the right and move to the left. Jimmy Ballard made it famous. That's why Sutton did so well with him, and some of those guys. And then you have the guys who are more centered, who pivot more around their pelvis, where the right hip goes back in the backswing, the left hip goes back in the through swing. So what we see is different posts. We also see different right hand grips. And that's why we have a test for that, where we have them put their hands together and swing the right arm back to see where the right arm goes, determine how they should be gripping the club, so they can swing the club most dynamically and efficiently.
Making my job as a golf instruction content producer difficult, because it means you can't just do a blanket one-off tip that works for everybody. There's a variety of information that works for a variety of players, and it forces us to be a little bit more creative and subtle about how we get people going in the right direction. It's a fun new challenge, as opposed to just slapping out some one-size-fits-all instruction. That's for sure.
Well, somebody said to me, he says, how long does it take for you to measure somebody? And it takes about 5 minutes.
Okay.
So why not measure and figure out what they should be, instead of guessing and rolling the dice and hope you got it right?
Yeah. No, I like your strategy for sure. Guessing is too much of that happens in golf anyway. That's why we're lucky enough to be able to measure swings on a system Phil Cheatham's designed in every single lesson, so we can measure things down to the degree or 1/10 of an inch. You mentioned the post piece. Can I start by asking you how you came up with the terminology that you use?
Well, front means they're pivoting around the front leg.
Right.
Rear, they're pivoting around the rear leg in the back. And center, they're staying centered and then moving left. Everybody eventually left.
Post is more specific of what I was looking at. Or sometimes you use side or under or cover or over.
Well, those
how
are
did
grips.
you come up with those terminologies?
Well, visualize you've got a ball in your hand.
Yep.
Okay, 2 hands like this. Your right hand is now on the side of the ball, right?
Right.
So if your right hand grip is like that, we call it side on. Now move your right hand to top. Okay, now your right hand is on top. So that grip would be on top. Now move your right hand to under. And guess what that grip is? Under.
Oh, you beat me to it. Got it. Okay, how about you mentioned the post piece, left, center, right. How many inches of pelvic sway do you measure each of those at? We
check where they're pivoting, and when we're on the force plates, because we measure with 3D force plates, both Smart to Move, Kistler plates, and Swing Catalyst, and we check. It tells us exactly where they are as they go back. So it's not We measure them, and then we also test them in swing, and we see where they are and where they should be.
Okay, gotcha. So you're using the 3D plate and the amount the COP is moving left or right when they make just a normal swing to
Right.
determine
Well, with a measurement, and then when
left or
they
right.
make a normal swing, and when they've been playing their best. Example, I mean, Aaron Badley's a good example. He's a front post golfer, okay? He was moving to the right. They're working on that. It was 78% right, was as far as he went, which is more center. And his club head speed was 108 miles an hour.
Right.
Terry tested him. He should be front. Got him working more, pivoting around the front leg. His club head speed went to 119.
Mm-hmm. And what do you attribute the 11 miles an hour to?
Only because he's using his body the way it's designed to be used. He's not fighting his body.
Okay. Is there something in particular that he's not fighting now that he used to be fighting?
Well, yeah, if he moves to the right, he doesn't always get back to the left.
Yeah,
and
that's for sure. We see that all the time for sure.
So staying left for him is a huge advantage. Where Lydia Ko was #1 in the world, 94 miles an hour, 93 miles an hour, shifted to the right. She was a big rear poster, and that's what she tested out to be. They got her more centered, and now her club head speed is 84 miles an hour, and she's no longer #1 in the world.
Yeah, she's changed a lot. She might have one of the worst downswings on the LPGA tour right now, and it looks like you could literally stand in front of her and get hit with a golf ball, and it wouldn't hurt. No. It's sad to see what's happened to her career as well. How about at impact? Do you feel like at impact, do you have a post measurement that you discussed too, the left, right, or center? Okay, how many inches of pelvic sway do you like at impact?
Well, it's different for each person. I mean, we don't have a set number that we're trying to shoot for.
Sure. Yeah.
All we're trying to do is everybody is different. We measure them, and the answer to every answer is it depends.
Yeah.
So
gotcha. Okay. So then, how do you pick which one at impact to use? Which sway measurement or?
No, they're going to be on the left side, and how they deliver the force is different for each of the posts, which we could talk for hours about. But
and there's a way to do that.
Yeah, right.
We've done a ton of studies with Mike Duffy, Phil Cheatham, Sasha McKenzie, and JP Fernandez, and Scott Lynn. And I traveled all over the world with those guys. And what we've done is we measure everybody and determine what they should be. And then every time we do it, it's a minimum of 6 to 8 miles an hour increase and maximum of 25 miles an hour that we've seen. Cordy, the lesson that you received from Sasha McKenzie was a lesson that I gave him in Hawaii, and increased his club head speed 12 miles an hour, and then he gave it to you, and you increased your club head speed. I think it was 11 miles.
Yeah, it was definitely helpful. That's for sure. Well, Nick, should we hop in to do some screens and so people can see some of what we're talking about a little bit?
Let's do it. I am curious to hear what kind of instruction you got to increase 11 miles an hour of club head speed too. I got to hear that story, Cordy.
That's a secret, Nick. You're gonna have to.
Secret? Oh, you can't tell me. All right.
Yeah, but you have to understand, Nick. It's not the same for each person.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree with that, Mike. Everybody needs a little different pill for sure. That's not it. I'm curious what Mike's little pill was. Was it the follow through, or how to bend? The dimension in golf that usually gives people the most speed is either making a longer backswing or learning how to bend themselves in the sagittal plane.
Well, also it's how you use the ground. How you put the force in the ground, whether it's rotational, vertical, or horizontal. I mean, everybody has a different amount of each.
Yeah. So was Cordy your lesson more how to get the vertical part?
My lesson with Sasha was to have the simple cue was to have a faster backswing.
Okay.
To have to use more force at the top of the backswing to start the downswing.
Gotcha. Awesome.
And I jumped from probably 113 to 119.
Sounds like a good lesson. Nicely done.
It was very, very simple and something that I could actually do right away, which was.
Well, as soon as you speed the arms up, the legs speed up. And that's how they teach sprinters to run faster, is the faster arm swing.
Well, let's jump in here. What should we do, Mike? Should we do the
Let's do the post test
test?
since you don't have anything but putters back there. Place the club across the top of your thighs and face us.
Okay, so golf posture and then
Right.
across the thighs, okay.
And simply just pivot back. Okay, notice how you're pivoting around your left leg. That would make you a front post golfer.
Now, I guess my question is, I know that like long drive guys, for instance, get more pressure on their rear
That's
leg,
not
right?
true. That's not true.
No?
Who are the two?
Okay.
The two longest, Cameron Champ is the longest on the PGA Tour, right?
Okay, yep.
And another one, he's a front post golfer. I mean, you go through the Bryson DeChambeau is front post, one of the longest on tour. It's a myth that you have to shift to the right to hit it farther. Yanni Singh, 107 miles an hour, fastest ever recorded in the LPGA Tour, front post. They got her shifting to the right. Club head speed's 94 miles an hour. So the big shift to the right didn't make her swing faster. Made her swing slower and hit it worse.
Now, Mike, do you just put that the testament to that as that's not what she's naturally designed to do, so that's why she swings slower? Or is there something mechanical that she does different
Well,
while moving to the right?
Mechanical because it doesn't fit how she's predisposed to move.
Okay.
Nick, what was your test? Did you do that post test as well?
I don't know. Did I do it right?
See, he's more centered. He's pivoting around the center, not staying left.
Is that right, Mike? Did I do it okay?
Yeah. You didn't mess it up.
Love it.
So far, so good.
Mike, the other thing that I've done with Scott Lynn, who's a biomechanist, was
I've done a ton of stuff with him.
You hit golf balls on the left foot, feet together, and then on the right foot, and see which one is fastest.
Well, there's staying on the left foot, feet together, and left foot back. I developed that. And they use that, and it shows the different club head speeds at different positions. So there's 3 different ways that we do it, but they all come back to the same result.
Nick, have you ever heard of that before?
Not that particular test. I mean, I've heard Mike talk about it before, but not really in great detail. So I'd be curious just to even hear touch more about that, Mike. What the results were.
We have guys, once we test them, and if we're not sure if they're between front and center or between center and rear, we'll have them hit shots with the feet together, and then hit shots with the right foot drop back, left foot drop back. And they hit more speed with feet together, they're more centered. If they hit it more with the left foot drop back, they're more rear. Then we'll have them hit, or if they're between front and center, we have them drop the right foot back. They're about 4 inches apart and just a little bit back, and they have hit shots, and then have them hit shots with the feet together. We have a track man behind them, and it gives us club head speed and solidness of contact.
Yep, I think it's great. When Cordy and I are doing that test, how are you determining which post we are visually when you're watching?
Well, I mean, you can pretty much see okay. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. What is my post?
I would say rear.
I am rear, correct. But if you see this, what are you seeing? Front, and this is more center.
Okay. So you're watching, I suppose, the thoracic sway?
Yeah, you can call it that.
That measurement?
No, I'm watching more down below.
Away or toward, or you're watching the pelvis more than anything?
I'm watching the pelvis.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. When you have someone on like Swing Catalyst who's pelvis, thorax, when they make a backswing, you can make the center of pressure move around in a multitude of ways, which I understand that you know. When you see someone who might move their pelvis toward the target, but retain the forward flexion that they had at address in that sagittal plane.
But you see that? Okay, Zach Johnson's a good example of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what we call, basically all he's doing is he's creating a counter swivel because he's an under grip, and that way he can access his dominant dimension. Then you have the counter tilt, where they're actually rear and they pivot this way, but you see them leaning back to the left, a la BJ Singh or Colin Montgomery.
Sure. Yep. Okay, how would you classify like Zach then?
Zach is front post. He's an under
Front
golfer.
post, because his pelvis moves towards the target. Okay, I think I got it.
Uh-huh. Any other questions? I couldn't have been that clear.
No, I love
Let's
it.
try
I
it.
love
Let's
it.
try the other grip. Let's try the grip test.
Yeah, let's do this one.
This is the side cover under, right?
Right. This gives you what your right hand should be.
And your grip on the golf club.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So-
Cordy turns. Yep, that's right. Hands together. Right hand slightly lower. Okay.
Okay.
Now stabilize your shoulders and swing both arms to the right, allowing the right arm to bend. Okay. Notice where your palm is facing.
Facing down.
Yeah, so that's more side cover. The grip is the palm, the forearm, the shoulder, and the elbow. The more the right elbow goes up, the more on top you are. The more the right elbow tucks in, the more under you are.
Who are some players that would
Well,
be
put
in,
those- put the picture-
would be in dramatically different positions than those guys?
Go ahead and put the picture of Paul Casey in. Okay, notice Adam Scott on the right. His right elbow tucks in, palm is facing more up. He is side under. Paul Casey on the left see how the right elbow has gone back and up? He's more side cover, which is how he grips it, and the other is how Adam Scott gripped it. In fact, we were talking to Paul Casey, and I said, so your right hand needs to be more on top when you play. He says, I hit it best that way. He says, but my teacher, Peter Costas, keeps moving my right hand square to neutral. And I said, so how do you hit it? He says, I hit it terrible from there. But he says, I fooled him. I opened the club face up and at address. In essence, he moved the right hand on top. And he says, I hit it great from there.
I think Adam Scott shaves his forearms.
Totally does. Look at that. Anyway, are you just jealous, Matt? Is that why you said that? Was that just a reaction?
Just a reaction.
Yeah, fair enough. Mike, I have a question about this one. So on the backswing, you're looking at Adam Scott, Paul Casey at this point in time. Neither of them would make a very functional backswing moving like this. So I'm wondering.
Actually, that's not true.
Well, neither one of them swing like this. Maybe I should start with that.
Adam Scott does, because there is some movement of the shoulder and hips, but we're just trying to isolate what the arm is going to do.
Fair enough. I know that at like
Adam
you're
Scott
almost
tucks
at.
the right elbow.
Yeah, he does for sure. The left arm, the left arm flexion and the pushing out. That's different than how he would have it at. We're almost at the point in time where his left humerus is parallel to the ground. That's not the orientation he would ever have that swing. He's got that further behind him. So do you feel like this?
Let me answer the question.
Yeah, sorry.
There would be pivot at that point, the hips and the shoulders. And the same thing with Paul Casey. He does move back and up. His right elbow goes back, and his face looks a lot more shut in the backswing.
Sure. So you feel like this test, irrespective of the other recruitments of different joints and the different mobility you mentioned,
all we're trying to see is how the right arm works in the backswing. Because like we said, it's shoulder, forearm, elbow, and right hand is dictated. And then that allows us to put the right hand on correctly.
Okay.
So in my case, as a side cover, I need to crank my right hand this way more, correct?
Well, you just need to keep it a little more on top, okay?
Okay.
You're gonna grip it like Kupka does, more the way that Cameron Champ does, or Bryson does, or Paul Casey, Ricky Fowler, Rory McIlroy, Thomas Peters, Alex Noren, Patrick Reed, Martin Keimer.
Those are some good comps.
Those are good players. Yeah, you should be more like that, Cordy.
I should be it.
Yeah, but guys like Adam Scott.
At least you know it.
Like Xander Schauffele, the right hand's more under. Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantley, John Rahm, Fred Couples, Martin Traynor. There's a bunch of them. And great thing being at Medalist, I'm able to go up and test all of them.
Yep. Well, that's cool to have such proximity to all those amazing players. Gives you such a good background in seeing what the best in the world do.
Well, like Matthew Wolf's right hand is very much on top. That's why he's the club to the outside, and that's why he does what he does. I mean, his swing really isn't unusual because he swings the way he should according to the grip.
That's great. I appreciate you saying that, because I don't think Matt Wolf's swing is unusual either. The way he does the radial deviation and some of how he pulls his arms apart in the backswing, those are very noticeable. But the rest of how he's really moving throughout the swing isn't all that much different from
right hand
traditional
is what makes
swing.
that right elbow move out.
Sure. So if that picture of Paul Casey that you had, I don't know if you can throw that up one more time, Cordy. So if Paul Casey comes to you, or any PGA Tour player comes to you, and they say, like in Paul's case, I'm having a hard time drawing the ball, Mike. I want to draw it more. Do you still tell him to put the number 3 pressure point, index finger of your trail hand more on the side or on top of the shaft ever so slightly?
I mean, Rory McIlroy is a side cover golfer. All you do is you shift the plane. You close the stance so they can hit draws, allows them to hit up on it and hit draws. Where the opposite for an under guy who's more predisposed to draw the golf ball, you do what Lee Trevino does. You do what J.B. Holmes does. You do what Dustin Johnson, what John Rahm does. They open the stance up and shift the plane to the left. It's just, you don't have to try to manipulate anything. You just shift.
Okay.
Matt, I want to hear from Matt a little bit. I know, personally talking to a lot of instructors that have begun to understand this information from Mike and have learned this. How much do you see this impacting instruction, some of these screens and whatnot over the last few years?
I think the work that Mike is doing, I think the work that Nick is doing, I think the work that people like my friend Mike Jacobs is doing.
Terry Rolls.
Terry Rolls. All of these people are people that and they don't, and they want to eliminate some of the folklore in golf instruction. And I think that's a difficult place for some coaches to be in, because if you've coached your entire career based on an estimate or on an anecdote that somebody told you that it got passed down from some other teacher, it can be threatening to hear about information that might be contrary to what you coach or what you believe. But I think what's permeating golf instruction is real information, real measurements, and I think it's in special coaches. There's a mixture of real information with the artistry of interpersonal relationships, and the actual coaching part, the people part, and the coaches that are good at both of those things are ones that are flourishing. And I say it all the time. We're in an awesome era for the democracy of information. Just look at what we're doing now. We're in a place where we can share this stuff with as many people who want to see it, and for free instantly. And I think if you wanted to learn stuff, Mike will tell you stories about being a young professional. He had to drive himself around the country and try to find the right mentors, and by process of elimination and try to figure out what roads to go down. And then now you can find that information in all these different places. You can find mentors. You can learn different things and figure out how to apply it. And you can see that in some of the businesses and some of the profiles that a lot of coaches have been building, whether it's on social media or in videos they make and seminars they give. I think there's never been a better time to flourish as a golf instructor, and there's never been more availability of great information. And I think we're just now in the sorting out period where some people are still trying to incorporate what they do day in and day out.
Well, they can find out more about our system because we're doing a webinar starting Friday. ultimategolflesson.com. They can find out all the information about it.
Yeah, it's everybody. It's the biomechanists. It's coaches coming together to talk about the ways they share it. I'm lucky that I get to spend a lot of time, and I tend to gravitate toward coaches that want to know, whether it's Randy Smith in Dallas, somebody who's just a legendary coach who's got great information. He's got an amazing touch with people. I spent a lot of time with Nick. I spent a lot of time with Mike. I'm lucky that I get to be around people that are fun to have a beer with and have a lot of information and are committed to figuring out how to share it with people in the most effective way for the person in front of them.
Mm-hmm. Mike, I think it's awesome that you and Matt are putting on this event. I know you're doing most of the work, and Matt's just going to sit there. And
Actually,
talk
it's Terry Rolls, myself, and Matt, and then we've got all the biomechanists. Phil Cheatham is on, and Scott Lynn, and JP Fernandez, and Mike Duffy, and Sasha McKenzie. They're all going to be on. Do it.
I like all those guys.
My only job is to mute people if they get out of line, and I really like that job.
That's pretty good. Matt, you mentioned something interesting. I want to get Mike's take on it's a little bit easier than it would have been in Matt's little hint there if you read under the veil a little bit. 10 years ago, you couldn't just get online and produce content and get to be known as a teacher, irrespective of who you taught, what you knew. Nowadays, it's a little bit easier to do that. I'm not saying it's simple. I think there are some crazy stories of people coming out of no teaching background whatsoever, teaching tour players even. I've seen it happen. What's your take on the new wave of coaches who are becoming popular mainly from either being making crazy social media posts, being a face, or just stuck to their keyboard a lot, whether they have a positive or bullying attitude, and helping that move themselves up in the profession?
I think one vulnerability in general that golf as a sport has, and golf instruction as an element of that has, is historically I think golf has been behind, whether culturally, in terms of technology, in terms of attitudes, the sport is behind. And so I think there are a lot of people that in golf coaching who don't have as firm a grasp on what technology can do as others. And I think that lets some people take advantage of that vacuum and fill the vacuum with information. I think some of them have done a terrific job. Some of them have probably been more damaging than others. But to go back to the previous point, what I think is great about it is if you don't have to have the luck of going and being an assistant pro for Mike Adams in 1992, or with Randy Smith, or with Butch Harmon, or Jim McLean, or any of these.
David
Hank
Ledbetter.
Haney. A coach could really give you an amazing grounding in what and how to teach. You could be Mike Jacobs and grow up on Long Island and be a municipal golfer and find your own way and find your own information, and that's very appealing. I grew up in a factory town in Michigan, and I had to figure my own way, and that's appealing to me for sure. Yeah. And what's fascinating is there are players on tour who have chosen coaches based on Instagram posts, or they've chosen coaches based on a Twitter feed, and younger players who see that as a source of information and are determining for themselves if it's valid information or not, whether that means they're putting their coach through the paces to see if it works, or they're just looking for a Hail Mary because they don't have a lot of self-confidence yet. Those are all things that are fascinating to study, because those are the elements that go into determining who champions are these days. You need to be able to not only figure out the right thing to do for yourself, but have the gumption and the self-confidence to know what to discard if it doesn't work. And you hear it from Brandel Chambly a lot, where he's very hard on modern instruction, and I think partially because he got some instruction that he didn't like. But I firmly believe that you're the gatekeeper of your own game, and whether you were playing in 1950 or 2000 or 2020, you're responsible for what you do or don't do. And there certainly is coaching malpractice out there, but you have a much better chance nationwide at a golf tech, at a mid-range country club in America today. You have a much better chance, thanks to the work of all these people that we're talking about right here, of getting a very good golf lesson than you have ever had in the history of this game, because the bar, the sort of passing grade bar of information for a golf instructor is so much higher now than it used to be.
Mike, I think Matt covered it. Did he miss anything?
I don't think so.
That was it?
Basically, I think online instruction has its place, especially during the lockdown. But if you can't see people hit balls and what the ball flight is and what's going on, you can make assumptions and make suggestions. And if it doesn't fix the ball flight, it's not fixing the player. I mean, you need to be able to make them hit it better and hit it more readily and be able to play, because they have to take it out on the golf course. I mean, you don't take a golf swing and you get scored. Oh, that was a 10 swing. Put the drive 320 down the middle. you actually have to hit the ball.
Yeah.
And when it comes right down to it, I mean, I would say 50% of my lessons are on the golf course, because I have to teach them how to, once I get them to hit it, I got to teach them how to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the environment of like what we use. And it sounds like you do something similar, Mike. We have such a sterile, tightly controlled, like petri dish in here where you can get a lot done very quickly. But then once that work's done and you teach somebody to hit whatever shot you'd like them to, whether it's a tiny draw or straighten something out or stop hitting them fat, then it's time to go outside and teach them how to play golf. So that's what we do too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I love when I go to a golf tech center, the thing I love is the removal of variables. And there are a lot of coaches that have an intuitive nature that can figure things out, but the process might take longer because they aren't taking one variable out at a time. And when you can go to a place like a golf tech center and see how things are measured and see what variables actually impact what's going on. I know, Mike, you and I have talked about that a lot. And and the coaches that can do that and understand that turning this knob by itself does one thing and turning all the knobs at the same time in different directions does a different thing. You would be surprised.
You
I
can
think that level of sophistication is beyond a lot of coaches, because they just start turning lots of knobs, and that's got to be extremely unsatisfying for a student, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Yep, doesn't need to be that way. You can make golf as simple or as complicated as you want, but your instruction should not be very complicated if it doesn't have to be.
Or I mean, it can be complicated under the hood. You know,
absolutely.
You know, if you open Mike's brain up and looked inside it, or open your brain up, or we had a biomechanical conversation with, you know, the 10 smartest in the country, it can get pretty next level pretty fast. But that the art of a Mac computer sitting on my desk here is that it's super complicated, but it doesn't look complicated to me. I'm just moving the mouse and it does what I want it to do.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, in the last 5 or 10 years, has your system of either measuring or teaching changed very much?
Well, you know, it's always evolving. We're always looking for better ways to do it, better ways to say it. You know, we've added a couple of screens, and you know, basically, you know, I'm fortunate. I've spent a lot of time with the best players and best teachers. Terry Rolls and I are together all the time. I traveled all over the world with JP, and also Scott Lynn. I've probably been to 70 countries with those guys. Yeah. So when you go ahead and you work with somebody and you got 300 people sitting there watching you, and you got to make them hit it better in 5 balls, they don't know what you're doing.
Absolutely. Can't say it any better. That's the fun part, though. I know I get to practice that skill a lot. I know you do as well. We're having Terry on Thursday.
You'll enjoy it. Terry's a brilliant guy and a phenomenal teacher.
Yeah, I really like Terry. He's a fun guy for sure.
Might need a 10-second delay, but
we'll keep pushing him along. We'll fill some dead air.
No, you won't have any dead air with Terry.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of those stories. Okay. All right. I got you. How about last question I can think of too. I think I slightly hinted on it, but I am curious. So you mentioned tour players and how many of those that you've seen over the years. When a tour player does come to you, do you start by asking them a series of questions outside of what you do with the screening base, or how do you get started with one?
Well, I ask them, I screen them. I'll ask for videos when they play their best to see what they look like, and go from there. I mean, each case is different. All I want to know as much about them as possible, how they take information in, what their learning style is. I also want to find out, you know, any injuries, things that they've done, teachers that they've worked with that they've hit the ball well under, what swing thoughts that they had, and check them out. I mean, the more information I have, the easier my job becomes.
I think that's great. And I appreciate your viewpoint of you're essentially saying it's not all about what you know either, how much about a swing you know. That's the interpersonal skills that are important, asking the right questions so that you know where to start and dive in on that problem. And I know the hundreds of teachers that have been loyal subjects and followers of your tutelage are all super guys, and they have that skill well trained as well. So I applaud you for everything you're doing in golf. I know I appreciate everyone who's trying to measure things for sure. And I know you're always trying to improve what you do and get a little better at it every single day. So I think it's great what you've done for golf and for what you continue to do.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys for hanging out. This was fun. Thank you for your time, Mike and Matt. And now I'm a front post side cover golfer. I'm going to go figure out what that means tomorrow on the golf course. How about that?
Well, you know,
Can't-
just move
can't
your
wait to
right
hear.
hand and don't worry about the post. If you swing properly, your body will assimilate that motion.
You just need to get some. You just need
Now
to
you
get some
can
clubs,
stop
Cordy.
sweating. That too. Now you can stop sweating, Cordy. It's easy.
I'll report back on
You'll be fine.
my low round tomorrow.
I
Well,
want to
come
hear
on,
about it.
go around. Where are you playing?
The
Let me
course-
know, 'cause I
our
gotta
course
get there.
opens tomorrow. Our course opens tomorrow. I gotta get out at some point. We'll see. Hopefully, I can get done with some work and get out there.
I
Yep.
wish this is what our course looked like. Right? I think we're going to be shut down at least till May here in Connecticut. So
Oh no, you're never playing again. It's going to start snowing again in August.
It won't
Yeah.
snow. As long the coronavirus, they're not going to let us. Because I'm supposed to be up in New Jersey at the end of this month.
I think we're going to
There
get
you
a
go.
plague of locusts. That's the next thing that's going to happen here.
It is.
Take pictures, put it on social media. I want to see it. Tag me in those.
On that positive thought, let's end today. Thank you guys.
See ya.
It was fun.
Thanks.
Great job.
Appreciate it.